Imagine looking at a resume, right, that just reads like a masterclass in catastrophic failure.
Oh, man.
I mean, a college dropout, a completely failed music career, an actual burned down building, and just a massive string of zero-profit hustles.
Yeah, usually that is exactly what you'd call a cautionary tale.
Right. But today, we are actually looking at how those exact embarrassing failures secretly minted a self-made millionaire.
Because, we really do love the myth of the pristine success story.
Oh, totally.
Like the grandmaster playing chess where every single move is deliberate and the path to wealth is just this straight, illuminated highway.
But the reality for most innovators looks a lot more like a bumper car rank.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the focus of today's deep dive.
Yes, we are exploring some really fascinating excerpts from a 1980 book called Success Forces by Joseph Sugarman.
And if you're listening and expecting a typical, secret formula business book, you are in for a serious shock.
Yeah, because Sugarman was, well, one of the most legendary marketers of the 20th century. But his thesis here is radically counterintuitive.
Right. He basically claims his success happened almost despite himself.
I love that.
Yeah, his entire philosophy is built on this idea that taking certain simple actions in everyday life subconsciously propels you toward success.
While the wrong actions obviously force you toward failure.
Exactly. And our mission today is to really extract the core of that philosophy.
Because he argues that true business instincts aren't learned in, like, an MBA program.
No, they're survival mechanisms. They are psychological tripwires that get wired into your brain through the sheer trauma of spectacular failures.
Wow. And to really grasp how these forces work, we have to look at the incredibly humbling path that Sugarman actually took.
Because these aren't just abstract theories.
No, not at all. As you'll see, his foundational business philosophy was literally forged in fire.
Which takes us to 1946 Chicago.
Right. Before Joseph Sugarman was a direct marketing titan, he was just an 8-year-old kid who had just spent 12 cents to watch a John Wayne movie.
And like any 8-year-old in the 1940s, he walked out of that theater feeling 10 feet tall.
Naturally. So he finds his stage in an abandoned garage down the alley from his apartment.
Okay.
And his goal is to replicate those rugged, manly campfires he saw John Wayne build on screen.
Of course.
So he gathers some bricks, starts a tiny fire, and puts it out with his plastic squirt gun.
Total success.
Total success. But, he has to escalate because there's a girl involved.
Huh, the ultimate catalyst for terrible decisions.
Exactly. Her name is Robin, and she lives upstairs. The problem is Robin prefers the boy next door, Gene.
Right, and Gene is a bookworm.
Yeah, he's already reading Shakespeare, while Sugarman admits in the book that he's still stumbling through Dick and Jane.
That's hilarious.
So, since he can't win Robin over with his intellect, Sugarman decides he's going to win her over with just raw John Wayne-style bravery.
So he invites her down to the alley to witness his mastery over the elements.
Right, but before he brings her down to the garage, he preps the scene. He builds this massive pile of wood.
But crucially, though, he sets up a backup plan.
Right, because he knows the squirt gun won't cut it for a fire this size.
Exactly. So he finds a lush green branch and hides it just outside the garage on a pile of garbage.
Intending to use it to, like, smother the flames if things get out of hand.
Right. So he brings Robin in, tells her not to panic.
Just dripping with false bravado.
Oh, yeah. And then he kicks the burning twigs into the larger pile.
And it immediately goes wrong.
Immediately.
The fire spreads to the walls. It is just pure chaos.
So he turns to Robin, tells her he'll save her, and runs outside to grab his lush green branch.
And it's completely gone.
Yep. The garbage truck took his backup plan.
Oh, no. So he is standing there with a tiny plastic squirt gun while the garage literally burns to the ground.
Just a complete disaster. Fire trucks arrive, his mother drags him home by the ears, and Robin starts actively hiding from him.
And Gene the Bookworm probably just kept right on reading Shakespeare.
Probably.
So, I mean, what does this all mean? Is Sugarman saying you should just never take massive risks?
Well,
Because that sounds a bit like telling a startup founder not to scale.
yeah.
Don't build a fire bigger than your squirt gun.
See, that's the trap most people fall into when analyzing failure. They think the lesson is play it safe.
Right.
But Sugarman became an incredibly successful entrepreneur precisely because he continued building massive fires.
Okay, let's unpack this.
The subconscious success force that this trauma embedded in him wasn't to avoid risk. The lesson was never leave your green branch outside.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Think about the neurochemistry of what happened to that 8-year-old.
Right.
When the garage burns down, his amygdala stamps a permanent, visceral lesson into his brain
Stupid what?
that taking a risk is fine, but delegating your safety net to an uncontrollable variable is fatal.
That is huge.
Yeah.
Whenever you start a metaphorical fire in business or in life, you must hold your out in your own hand.
Exactly. You cannot entrust your risk mitigation to a garbage truck.
Wow.
This became a foundational philosophy for him. Always have a backup plan in your direct possession so you aren't consumed by your own ambition.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, failures act as a sort of exposure therapy for the ego.
Right.
But mitigating risk is really only half the battle. If you want to actually build something, you need leverage.
You do.
And Sugarman soon discovers that when you're young and broke, your only leverage is perception.
And this is where we see that subconscious risk mitigation force applied to a real venture.
Right. Fast forward to 1958.
Sugarman is an electrical engineering student at the University of Miami. The recession hits, and he takes time off to help run his father's struggling printing equipment office in New York.
And he spots a massive market inefficiency.
Yes. The printing industry of America is hosting this colossal expo at the New York Coliseum, but they've completely sold out of space.
Right, so dozens of foreign companies are just shut out.
So at just 20 years old, Sugarman decides to build a massive fire.
He books the nearby New York trade show building for 5 entire floors of alternative exhibition space.
Yeah, he calls it Spectra 59.
He designs gorgeous, full-color posters. I mean, on paper, it looks just as legitimate as the Coliseum show.
But he runs into a biological wall.
Right. He's 20, and he looks 16.
Exactly. When he tries to negotiate logistics with union bosses or, pitch booth space to international executives, his youth instantly kills his credibility.
He has the vision, but he completely lacks the authority to command the room.
Right.
And here is where his sheer audacity really shines, and where we see his understanding of perception take hold.
What does he do?
He hires a 65-year-old Broadway actor with a booming, distinguished voice to act as his, quote, personal representative.
That is amazing.
The actor knows absolutely nothing about printing equipment. His only job is to stand there, look incredibly authoritative, and let Sugarman do the actual negotiating from behind the scenes.
It's brilliant.
It's exactly what modern tech companies do today.
Yeah.
You see 2 people in a garage spin up a slick, enterprise-grade landing page to make it look like they're a massive multinational corporation.
Totally. It's the ultimate fake it till you make it hustle, just done with a Broadway actor instead of code.
Right.
And tactically, it worked flawlessly. Spectra 59 completely sold out all 5 floors.
Wow.
They drew huge crowds, the exhibitors were thrilled, the unions were paid. But what's fascinating here is the bizarre financial outcome for Sugarman and his partner.
Oh, yeah. They made absolutely zero money.
Not a single dime. They spent every penny they had on promoting and operating the event.
Wow.
But Sugarman identifies this as a manifestation of another success force, the ability to relish failures and cherish the experience over immediate monetary gain.
Okay, I have to push back a little here.
Sure.
Relishing failure sounds a bit like toxic positivity.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't get paid for a year of grueling work, but I got paid in experience. That doesn't keep the lights on.
No, I get that it can sound like empty motivational speaker jargon, but let's look at the mechanics of what he actually accomplished.
Okay.
He basically gave himself a real-world MBA at age 20. He learned international sales, crisis management, large-scale event logistics, and how to negotiate with entrenched labor unions.
Right.
If he had gone to a university for that education, he would have paid tens of thousands of dollars. Instead, he got it for free.
Okay, that's fair.
And more importantly, he kept his green branch in his hand. He didn't take on massive debt to pull this off.
Right.
He orchestrated a massive event, walked away at a net zero financial loss, and fundamentally upgraded his own capabilities.
So he levels up. But as we all know, a little bit of operational success, even without the profit, can seriously inflate the ego.
Oh, definitely.
And when the ego inflates, you tend to drop your green branch.
Which brings us to the spectacular rise and fall of his alter ego, Joe Subway.
I love this era of his life so much.
It's so good.
Sugarman is back in college in Miami. He's studying hard, doing the engineering thing, but then he meets pop star Neil Sedaka at a party.
Right.
And Sedaka's just an average guy from Brooklyn, but he's surrounded by girls, money, and excitement simply because he writes hit rock and roll songs.
Yeah.
Sugarman looks at him and thinks, I could do that.
Notice the shift in his psychology here. With Spectra 59, he was solving a real market problem.
Yeah.
Now, ego is completely driving the bus. He freely admits he has a limited vocabulary and absolutely no singing ability. But the allure of the lifestyle just blinds him.
So he starts writing these incredibly cheesy novelty songs.
Oh, boy.
Like one is a space-age Christmas song called Santa's Got a Problem.
Wow.
But the absolute pinnacle is his calypso beat update of nursery rhymes called Mother Goose.
Yes.
I mean, we really have to share these lyrics with you just to illustrate how far off the deep end his ego took him.
Please.
Okay, here is Sugarman's lyrical genius. Hickory dickory dock, the mouse ran up the clock. The clock struck 1 and blew up. It was a time bomb.
That is truly ahead of its time.
Right. And then, little Miss Muffet sat on her tuffet eating some curds and whey. Along came a spider and sat down beside her and said, like, what's happening?
Oh, man. Incredible.
So, armed with this material and adopting the stage name Joe Subway, he heads to Chicago to pitch record labels.
And he gets rejected everywhere.
Everywhere. Until he walks into Apex Records, a small label on the South Side, and meets the president, Dempsey Nelson.
Okay.
Dempsey's a big guy, chopping a cigar, playing the part of the music mogul perfectly. His producer listens to Mother Goose and tells Sugarman, "You've got a Stone Smash single."
Of course he does.
Dempsey hypes him up, books RCA's largest recording studio, hires a band and backup singers. Sugarman is floating. He's already dreaming of the limousines.
But then the music stops. Dempsey calls him into the office and casually mentions they're a bit short on funds.
Right.
They need $1,500 to press the records.
And this is the exact moment he forgets the garbage truck lesson. He built a massive fire in that recording studio, handed Dempsey his lush green branch, and let him walk away with it.
That is precisely the mechanism of his failure here. Sugarman thinks he's seizing an opportunity.
Right.
He borrows $1,500 from his father, creates his own label called the NLMDD label, and presses 1,000 records.
And instead of controlling the distribution himself, he hands the boxes over to Dempsey.
And Dempsey literally disappears.
Wow.
Just vanishes into thin air. The Apex storefront closes. The creditors start coming after Sugarman. His disc jockey mailings fail. The radio stations ignore him.
He's left with boxes of unsold records and a $3,000 debt to his dad.
It's a devastating blow, but if we connect this to the bigger picture, it perfectly illustrates another facet of his success forces.
Which is?
The danger of letting ego distort good business sense.
Right.
Sugarman was so blinded by the fantasy of being a rock star that he ignored his own lack of talent, and he ignored the glaring red flags in Dempsey's operation. He outsourced his success to a middleman.
You mentioned earlier that failures are like bumpers in a bumper car rink. How does this disaster bump him in the right direction?
Well, it forces a necessary course correction. Think of it as a bowling alley bumper.
Okay.
When you throw a gutter ball, the bumper aggressively redirects the ball back toward the center lane.
Right.
The Joe Subway failure forced him to recognize his actual limitations. He wasn't a singer. He wasn't a product creator in that sense.
Yeah.
The friction of that failure forced him to pivot away from what he wanted to be toward what he was actually good at.
So he hits the bumper. He realizes he's not the product.
Exactly.
But, realizing you're not the product and actually monetizing your true skills are two completely different things.
How does he figure out what his true superpower is?
Well, the post-college path is a wild synthesis of all these lessons. First, he gets drafted into the Army right before finishing his engineering degree.
Okay.
He gets sent to a military spy school and serves in intelligence in Germany.
Wait, he goes from writing Mother Goose to being a spy in Germany? Yes. And this period is crucial for his development. He learns high-stakes human psychology.
Oh, wow.
In one instance, he has a chance encounter in a hotel lobby with a Russian ambassador.
Really?
Yeah. Now, most people would politely retreat, but Sugarman uses his understanding of perception, the exact same instinct that told him to hire the Broadway actor.
Right.
He plays the role of a slightly bewildered but useful American contact, reading the ambassador's desires and manipulating the interaction to draw the ambassador into a successful CIA sting operation.
That is insane.
He learns how to engineer outcomes by controlling the narrative.
Okay, so he's mastering the art of perception on a geopolitical scale. When he gets back to the U.S., how does he apply that to business?
He takes a job running marketing for a new company called Ski Lift International.
Okay.
And this is where the light bulb finally goes off. He applies the exact same mechanics he used in Spectra 59, but this time he does it with print media.
Meaning he makes them look bigger than they actually are.
Exactly. He realizes that the ski lifts themselves are just metal and cables. The true value is in how the market perceives them.
Right.
He uses negative space, high-end typography, and lavish photography in their brochures and magazine ads. He speaks the visual language of a multinational corporate giant.
Wow.
He creates such a powerful illusion of authority that buyers just flock to them. They become highly visible and profitable in a single year.
But then he clashes with the European owners, right? Like they want control, he pushes back, and eventually they force him to resign.
Yes. But the crucial detail, the final bumper in the bowling alley, is what happens after he leaves.
That happens.
The owners think the product is the star. But without Sugarman orchestrating the perception, the company flounders and eventually goes completely bankrupt, losing millions.
Oh, wow.
This proves to Sugarman beyond a shadow of a doubt that the ski lifts weren't the magic ingredient. His marketing was the engine of their success. The product was secondary to the pitch.
Here's where it gets really interesting. It's 1966. He knows his superpower is marketing, and he knows how to manipulate perception.
Right.
So he starts his own ad agency, and he immediately spots two massive cultural waves colliding.
Oh, yeah. The Batman television show is an absolute phenomenon. It's sweeping the nation. You have Batman t-shirts, Batman toys, Batman cereal.
Right.
And at the exact same time, the credit card industry is undergoing a massive boom. Diners Club, Bank Americard. Plastic money is the new frontier. It's a huge status symbol.
So Sugarman sees these two unrelated trends and merges them into an incredibly audacious idea, the Batman credit card.
Yes.
But it's not a real credit card. It has zero financial value. It's just a plastic novelty card embossed with a person's name, sold for $1 single through radio ads.
And to the average person, and probably to most other ad agencies, that sounds like a mildly amusing gag gift. A quick way to make a few $1,000.
Right. But Sugarman isn't thinking about the $1. He is thinking about data. For every dollar card he sells, he captures the name, address, and payment information of a highly engaged, fad-driven consumer.
Yes.
He realizes that a list of proven buyers is worth its weight in gold. He is getting people to pay him to build a massive, highly targeted mailing list for future catalog. It's the ultimate Trojan horse.
It is absolute brilliance. It combines the scale of Spectra 59 with the psychological leverage he learned in intelligence.
Right.
He takes this concept to New York to pitch the Licensing Corporation of America, the group that controls the Batman rights.
Okay.
He meets with an executive named Murray Altshuler, who initially brushes him off, saying they already have every Batman product imaginable licensed out.
But Murray can't find credit card on his list.
Nope.
And Sugarman doesn't just pitch a piece of plastic. He pitches the catalog, the mailing list, the entire back-end data strategy.
And notice how he applies the lush Green Branch rule here.
Oh, yeah.
Unlike the Joe Subway disaster, where he handed his money and product to Dempsey Nelson and hoped for the best, Sugarman demands structural control. His pitch is so compelling that the principals of the licensing corporation, Alan Stone and Jay Emmett, don't just grant him a simple license, they make him a 50-50 partner right on the spot.
Wow.
Even better, they put up half the money to fund the operation, fundamentally reducing Sugarman's personal financial exposure.
So he's holding his Green Branch.
He never let it go.
Hmm?
He flies back to Chicago, hires his lawyer, and walks into the most secure credit card printing facility in the city.
The same heavily guarded facility printing the real plastic money for the major banks.
Exactly. And he sits down with the salesman and confidently orders 250,000 Batman credit cards.
That is just incredible. He has perfectly synthesized every single painful lesson.
He really did.
He uses the grand illusion of Spectra 59 to deal with massive executives. He uses the painful lesson of Joe Subway to maintain ownership rather than trusting a middleman.
Yeah.
And he uses the childhood lesson of the burning garage to ensure he isn't risking financial ruin to pull it off. He finally found his center lane.
And that is the power of a success force. The burned-down garage, the zero-profit trade show, the boxes of terrible Joe Subway novelty records, none of these were the end of the road. They
Right.
were the friction required to wire his brain for actual success. Every time he threw a gutter ball, the failure bumped him back toward his true talents.
And that is the incredible journey we wanted to unpack for you today. When you look at Sugarman's success forces, it completely shifts the paradigm of what it means to build a career or a business.
He really does.
It's not about having a pristine resume.
But there is a catch, you know? To use those bumpers, you have to actually throw the ball.
Totally.
You have to take action, you have to try things that might not work, and you have to be perfectly willing to look a little foolish. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't learn that you're a terrible singer unless you step into the recording booth. You can't learn the mechanics of event promotion unless you actually try to rent the venue.
You literally have to build the fire.
Precisely. And as you process all of this, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. Look at the project you are most excited about right now in your own life. The business venture, the creative pursuit, the new role you're taking on.
Right.
You've gathered the wood, you've struck the match, and the fire is burning beautifully.
That's a great fire.
But ask yourself honestly, have you engineered your own safety net?
Oh.
Are you holding the lush green branch in your own hand, or did you leave it outside for the garbage truck?
Oof. That is a question to keep you awake at night. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep building those fires, keep that branch close, and we will see you next time.